This is lesson 4 of Scratch. We're going to have a look today at what variables are. You'll see that we have a new keyword called variables. So by the end of today's lesson, I want you to be able to tell me what is a variable, what are the purposes of variables and code, and how does the computer store variables. We've looked at what a variable is before. Please can you go back to your programming postcards, read the definition and looked at how we used variables in Logo. You should have completed that first task to remind yourself about what variables are. I want you to go and investigate what a variable is. Go to your workbooks, and in your workbooks you'll find on slide 15 there is the following page. What I want you to do is use the link on your page to go to this game. While you're playing the game, think about what is a variable. I want you to try and figure out a name of the variable in the code and what are the advantages of using variables. So click on the link and it will take you to this page. Make sure you read the information first so that you understand what you've got to do. You should find that your character on level 1 unfortunately doesn't go as fast as the character as the cat, because you're the dog. If you're pressing the down arrow it will go much slower. So what are the variables that we are using? In this code it is set dog speed and set cat speed. So a variable name should have been in there. But what is a variable? Remember, a variable is a data item stored in memory that can be changed whilst the program is running. Now, what's the advantage of using variables? Well, as you know, and you can see in this game, we're going slowly. You'll find out if we change the speed of this, I'm just going to reset that, we can change the speed by clicking on the down arrow to 4. So if we run it, we can go much faster. This is because variables can change in code. I now want you to go and investigate a couple of different games and the variables that they use. There's also an extension on the 4th slide. For each of the games, you'll see there's a hyperlink for you to follow. Click on the button, follow the link. You're going to have to find out the name of the variables used, what are the variables used, and then consider a final question. That might be, how could the game be improved with further variables? First, do fruit drop. Secondly, do the snowball fight remix. And then thirdly, the breakout remix game. Then try and complete the extension. Pause the video and please go and complete that now. In your workbooks, there is a definition of a variable, but it is quite an extended variable definition. Can you reduce it to no more than 12 words? And then complete the extension to explain how variables can help in a game. Pause the video now and complete that task. I'm going to show you now how to add a variable to your game. Remember, something that could change. This could be a score, it could be points, and I'm sure you've seen them in lots of games before. So first of all, to add a variable, I'm going to go and add a variable in my maze game. So here is my maze game. Now I want it to be lives, so I'm going to go into my game. What I can do is go to the variables tab at the bottom. I need to click this button that says make a variable and give it a name. So I'm going to choose lives, how many lives that we've got. You can see a new variable appears and we get a series of blocks that we can use with this. So in my dog, I first want to start off with, right at the start, I'm going to give myself a number of variables. I'm going to set my lives to 2. Okay, and what you will see is when we click start, this new box will appear at the top and it shows you the number of lives. Now if I just double click on that, I can change what it looks like. I just want it to look like this at the moment. And then I can do all sorts of things with it. For example, I can add some selection. So forever, if it's touching the maze, I can make us lose a life. So if we're touching the maze, now you might have noticed this somewhere else. It's exactly the same code as here. So rather than doing a new block of code, I could actually just attach it into here. When it touches the maze, we want to take our lives down by 1. So we can change our lives by -1. Oops. Now this is great. I'm going to add a wait in here because otherwise we might get a glitch. If we touch the lines for too long, it could go down by more than -1. So here's my game. If I touch it, you can see my lives has now gone down. But we want to make sure the game finishes when it equals 0. And this is a little bit harder. And we're going to have a look at this shortly. Before you go any further, you've got a new page in your book. There's a dragon game. Go to the link, click Remix, see inside, and tell me how many variables it's got, how many sprites are there, and then finally, how could variables be used to improve this game. Pause the video and go and complete that task. Here's my dragon game, so I'm going to click See Inside. Now if I click on my variables, I can very quickly see how many variables are in my game. So remember, on this page here, you're saying how many variables does it have? Well, it actually has 2 that we're using. We're not using this one here, so it has 2 that we are using. How many sprites are there? Well, there's 2 sprites, a bat and a dragon. And finally, the last question is, how could variables be used to improve the game? Well, there's loads of things that we could add in here. If you've had a go at the game, you could have a time limit, for example. You are going to have 10 minutes to complete the dragon and bat game. There are 3 different guides to help you. If you go to your student workbook, you're going to find a bronze level. Now, the bronze level gives you a series of codes that you could add. You just need to fill in the blank. It also gives you some help. The silver level asks you to make variables yourself and gives you some blocks of code, but you need to add a little bit more detail. And then finally, I want you to modify the game if you're gold to include variables yourself. This could be lives, score, or other items. You might want to add new sprites with keys to collect as well and give them a score. You now have an evaluation to complete. Can you evaluate 2 things that have worked well within your game? Then explain how you could improve your game to make it more interactive and what coding concepts you would have used to make your improvements. Find your maze and see if you can add some variables to your maze. The final part of today's lesson is to go onto your variables programming postcard. You should already have the top section filled in, so all you need to do is show me an example of where you have used variables in Scratch. Make sure that you explain how you have used these.